Hi, friends. I thought I would share with you an interview with the filmmakers of Identifying Features, known as Señas Particulares in Spanish. I had the pleasure of speaking with Fernanda Veladez and Astrid Rondero earlier this week. The film revolves around a middle-aged mother named Magdalena who's lost contact with her son, Jesus or Jesus, after he left their hometown for a chance of a better life in the U.S. The story unfolds a little bit from there, and she's in search of her son. And in her search and her journey through the border towns between Mexico and the U.S., she meets a young man named Miguel, who is trying to get back to Mexico after being deported from the United States. It's an urgent film. It is beautiful to look at. It is the winner of the World Cinema Dramatic Audience and Screenplay Awards at the Sundance Film Festival, and also won the Best International Feature at the Gotham Awards last week. Please listen to my conversation with the filmmakers here. Good morning. How are you both?
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here.
Likewise. Introduce yourself so that we know what we're here. I know we're going to speak about your film, Identifying Features, but I want people to know a little bit about each of you before we start.
Well, I'm Fernanda Veladez. I'm the director and co-writer of the film.
And I'm Astrid Rondero, the co-writer and producer of the film.
Welcome. Nice to meet you again. So I've been following the film since its premiere at Sundance last year. So congratulations on the journey of award-winning films or festivals, and also the Gotham Award that was awarded to the film last week. So congratulations. It really is quite an impactful film, and I know that you've been discussing the film for over a year now. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about where it came from, what the journey of the film has been over the last year or so, but also talk a little bit about the process of filmmaking, if that's okay. So so maybe I'll just start with one of my questions. My understanding is that it started from a short film that you did, which is 400 maletas, 400 suitcases, correct? Yes. And then from there, you got together and kind of made it into this feature film that we will be discussing. Can you talk a little bit about, the idea of extending the short film into a feature, the importance of telling the story of Miguel, the young man, but also the mother, Magdalena, that we come to know in the film?
Well, we did this short film, and even though it contained the essence of the narrative, the mother looking for her missing son, and a young man being deported from the U.S. and making his way back home, we both felt that I wasn't quite able to express the depth and also the width of the humanitarian crisis in Mexico, because what's happening around violence here crosses the whole of the social body, and it's not limited to one social class or to migrants or to farmers. So we kind of went back and rewrote the script, maintaining that essence of the mother and the young man being deported, but introducing new characters that helped us talk about this whole experience of a society that has been pulled into violence. I don't know if you want to say anything about that.
Yeah, at some point, because we worked together also in the short film, at some point Fernanda was really with this idea that she needed to do a feature film. And I think that the main reason we went ahead was that one, to broaden the scope of the story.
Right. And I think what makes it really interesting and perhaps more accessible to audiences that are not just Latin American is that you present different parts of society from the very beginning of the film. I don't know if that was conscious to start when you were writing, that it would sort of hit me in the gut, sort of, with what we see in the very beginning, which is about mothers frustrated about their missing sons or children, but including aspects of, rural Mexico, but also higher class Mexicans as well.
Those were the aspects exactly that we were trying to, boys that tried to cross the border as undocumented migrants, but also this surgeon that has a son that for different reasons disappeared on a highway going to a vacation. And I think those were the aspects that we discussed and we tried to introduce, so to express this depth and this, like you said, this magnitude.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's also what makes it a little bit more realistic too. I know that in other discussions that you've had about the film and other write-ups of the film, they mention other American movies and shows that sort of have a different point of view about what it's like in terms of life at the border. And the film that you have is more about the real people, whether they live at the border or elsewhere, looking for their sons, like the mothers, but also the young people who are crossing the border looking for better opportunities. So it is this point of view that I think is important in your film, if I'm correct, in that you're trying to tell this story from a different perspective.
I think the main idea, that the one that's took from the from the short film, was the mothers, the mothers that are looking for their sons, and I think that's the main key that makes this story different and the experience different, because you're watching it from a point of view that it's not so explored, and also it's a point of view, especially in Mexico, that holds a lot of truth and a lot of love. And basically in Mexico, the women, the mothers, they became like a powerful force in the quest of seeking truth and justice. So I think that's the main reason why the film feels different, because you're inside the shoes of a character that we usually don't. We are not pulled into.
And I think also, and I don't think we were conscious about this. We focus on the experience on the path of the migrants in Mexican territory, and that talks about the motives and the necessity to look for a better life and to escape a situation that is very perilous and complicated. And so the situation on the other side of the border, it's only touched very lightly, and we only see a young man being deported, but the film is not centered on the life of people living in the United States, but in Mexican territory. And I think, and we never thought about this, that for the American audience and for people abroad, it gives them this sensation that they understand why people leave their country in search for a better life.
Thank you for that, because I think that's sort of what captured my attention. I liked how you chose to take us along the road with Magdalena and Miguel, like on sort of two roads, if you will. I know some people have talked about this having some road movie aspects, which is true, but I think what really worked for me in getting that emotional connection is just being sort of a witness to both of their journeys. Can you talk a little bit how you discuss creating that atmosphere of, we're going with them on the road?
Well, we wanted to tell that these stories are stories of courage, and they're stories of stepping into the unknown, that if people are doing these journeys are because they are in terrible situations. And we also wanted to portray how even in small amounts, the people are helping each other, even though it's really dangerous. So we wanted to make this journey with them and to give something to the audience so they can share this experience of of being a very small piece in a very big, patchwork or puzzle. And I think that's why we wanted to explore these kind of road movie style where the people crossing paths and characters that just happen to cross and then just disappear, because we think that it kinds of portrays what happened with the victims' mothers and families, that they go into a quest of finding truth, and it's really, really how you say, like
it's a very dangerous odyssey,
and exactly, and an unknown journey.
Very true. Yeah. Can we talk a little bit about your casting? Because I know that you have professional or non-professional actors, and most of the film we are on the road with Magdalena, who's Mercedes Hernandez, and Miguel on the other side with David Illescas. And I'm switching now. I'm starting to do Spanglish. Sorry. I want to talk about the casting because I see how they're basically portraying every man and every mother. You look at their faces and they're very honest in how they portray their characters. And I want to maybe ask Fernanda about what you discussed with each of them when you brought them these characters.
Well, with work with her on the short film, so I think, and we've discussed this, the work we did with her in the short film helped us and was like an experience that grew and matured into the feature. And so I think she was very conscious that we were working, besides David, who is also a professional actor from Mexico City, with non-professional actors. So she was, she had to be very open-mannered. So she could be also a tool for me to work with actors that didn't have that much experience. And I think they both had affinities to the characters. Well, even that Meche is a middle-class woman, a professional actress in Mexico City, but she's a mother, and I think she felt this experience or the possibility of the experience of losing a child. And in the case of David, he's such a remarkable young man. He's the first Zapoteco from his community to have a college degree, a degree in acting. But he's very, very familiar with the experience of migrating, his family living in LA and different parts of the US. And he was very touched by the experience of it's forced to go back home. So I think he went deep into the character and the experience.
Mm-hmm. I appreciated each of their characters very much because they remind me of people that I probably would have known growing up. I'm from Guatemala, so I kind of relate to, a hearing of somebody that left to go to the States, or, mothers who would have had a son disappeared in the 80s, which would have been the case in where I was born. So I really appreciated their portrayals of these characters. I also wanted to talk about the names that you chose for the characters. I know I'm switching a little bit. We have Magdalena, who is the mother looking for her son, Jesus or Jesus. Was this deliberate in when you were writing either the short film or this? I haven't seen the short film, but the feature. I was just curious about it because, we come from countries that are very Christian based, or Catholic is very Catholicism is very popular. So I just wanted to know a little bit about that.
Well, I think it was half and half, right? Because in Mexico, that's a very common name. We're always, our background, it's always pouring out, right? And we were raised in the Catholic
symbolic
and the symbolism, and I think that it really was like a key at some point for us when we were writing to try to express many things that we couldn't express. For instance, like the power of motherhood, also the power of faith at some point, also the darkness portrayed by the devil. And there's a lot of of symbols that were very useful for us to try to say what we wanted to say. And of course, well, the Catholic background poured out. It wasn't probably something that we thought a lot about.
Yeah, we didn't discuss it. It's something that happened, that we knew it was there, and I think it was more helpful for us to try to wake our imagination than a statement for the audience, but of course it is there.
That's fair. I mean, I was raised in Catholicism too, and it's not that I know everything, but it does sort of click a little bit, right, in terms of symbolism. So thank you. I was just curious. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the camera work and the cinematography, which is actually something that everybody's being very impressed by in this film. And I know that it was also due to being having a low budget. You needed to be creative in your in the way that you visually told the story. Can you talk about your relationship with the cinematographer Claudia and how you discussed the look of the film?
I think that's a discussion that we began with the writing of the script. We were wondering at several points how much information to give the audience and how to build the experience of going along these characters. And we discussed that we wanted the experience from a point of view of the victims, of someone that is suddenly and unexpectedly pulled into a journey that has no clear ending and no clear road. So we discussed about partializing the information and never really giving the audience the possibility of understanding like the political or social or complete aspects of what's happening, why these people kill and who are they and what's the name of the cartels and what do they want. So we really wanted to experience that in that point of view, because even today for many of us what's happening around violence, it's not so clear. It's really entangled and we wanted to portray that. So how to express that visually, and we decided that we also had to put information to give main characters and main situations outside what the camera was actually seeing, and perhaps only hinting towards that with sound or with the music or with the gaze of the actor. And that's how we work with Claudia. And Claudia, it's really playful and a great partner, so she was very willing to propose and just to, and there's an expression I like in English, like to come and play in the sandbox.
Very good. Yeah, and I think that is something that, like you said, it almost brings the movie into real time, kind of, where we don't really know what's going to happen next, but the actors also do a really good job of keeping us with them, right? So it's the visuals, it's the not knowing, and it's just being on the journey with them that I think really is what kind of keeps us really attached to this film. So thank you for that bit of information. I wanted to switch to Spanish so that we can actually include the audiences that are going to watch this thing en español. Muy bien, gracias. Bueno, no voy a hacer las mismas preguntas en inglés porque si no nos vamos a repetir, pero quería hablar un poquito de no quiero hablar de la historia porque no quiero dar muchos detalles, quiero que las audiencias y la gente vea la película. Pero lo que me gusta mucho también no solo de la cámara, de los actores, es el sonido. Porque no hay mucha música, pero sí hay ciertas partes donde nos ayuda, ¿no?, a seguir la historia. ¿Puedes hablar de eso un poco?
Pues el sonido creo que es de mis partes favoritas desde la escritura, y eso la verdad es que se lo aprendí a Astrid, porque aunque yo soy más grande que ella. Cuando yo la conocí, nos conocimos en su corto de graduación y yo leí su guión. Ella tenía una manera muy particular de escribir el sonido, de manera que vi que tenía control de lo que quería escuchar y lo que quería ver en el rodaje. Creo que, pues, sí, que es un aprendizaje invaluable. Y creo que conforme escribíamos, íbamos hablando de cómo se iba a escuchar también la película, justo porque no saber mucho de lo que sucedía, entonces el sonido tenía que contar también la historia y ayudarnos a entrar en la atmósfera. Y la verdad es que tenemos un colaborador que es maravilloso, es casi que un genio, se llama Omar Juárez, y la verdad es que gran parte de lo que sucede sonoramente en la película también es propuesta de él, y esa experiencia de trabajar con alguien que es tan creativo y que abona a la película es muy emocionante.
Estaba leyendo que tuvieron, bueno, digamos, lujo de tiempo cuando estaban rodando la película, y por eso tuvieron el chance de trabajar con ciertas personas que se alineaban a la manera que querían hacer la película. ¿Me puedes explicar cómo fue ese proceso de conocer a los que te ayudaron en la producción?
En realidad, uno de los retos más complicados de la película fue el financiamiento, que el presupuesto fuera más normal, ¿no? Entonces, como no logramos conseguir en ese momento esa parte del financiamiento, tomamos la decisión de irnos a filmar ya con el dinero que teníamos, que era un primer dinero como fondo semilla de un fideicomiso que desapareció en México. Y un poco lo que decidió Fernanda, que fue uno de los grandes aciertos de la película, fue: prefiero irme con muy poco equipo, con poquitísimas cosas, siempre y cuando me pueda llevar a la gente más tiempo. Eso fue algo muy positivo, porque entonces trabajamos con luz natural, trabajamos esperando que cayera la luz correcta, el día correcto, todo, ¿no? Y la parte que fue complicada en algún punto fue conseguir a la gente que pudiera estar por ese periodo tan largo de tiempo. Y ahí fue donde creo que tuvimos la gran fortuna de encontrar particularmente a mujeres, porque eran mujeres profesionales del cine, muy talentosísimas, que todavía por la disparidad de género que hay en México, a lo mejor tienen las agendas más libres de lo que eran tenerlos libres, ¿no? Por el nivel de su talento. Y entonces fue así que logramos conseguir a todo un crew que se pudo quedar por un largo periodo en el lugar donde estuvimos filmando, y fue una experiencia, bueno, ¿qué podemos decir? Maravillosa, ¿no?
Sí, sí. ¿Y todo cuando estaban rodando fue en Guanajuato?
Todo fue en Guanajuato, esa es otra cosa interesante, ¿no?
Y fue muy, la verdad, muy emocionante también, con excepción de la imagen del cruce fronterizo y un par de calles de Tijuana y de Tecate y el albergue para migrantes, que fue menos de una semana de rodaje. El resto del trabajo fue en Guanajuato. Y se debe también a que nuestro presupuesto era tan bajo que no teníamos los recursos para hacer un viaje como la película lo hubiera requerido. Y puesto que yo soy de Guanajuato, conozco muy bien esa zona y tenemos una red de apoyo, entonces lo que hicimos fue seleccionar cuidadosamente las locaciones para que pareciera que estábamos haciendo un viaje.
Sí.
Y por eso era necesario un periodo largo de tiempo, porque necesitábamos cambio estacional. Entonces hicimos algunas secuencias desde un año antes para probar un poco cómo esto iba a funcionar, pero fue prácticamente del verano al invierno. Estuvimos grabando, hacíamos una secuencia, para que tenían que regresar a la Ciudad de México, volvían, luego hacíamos otra cosa, y fue un poco esa la
O sea que ser local ayuda mucho, ¿no?
Capital, siempre le digo a Fernanda que ser de los estados y tener a gente que está muy emocionada por tu desarrollo y que quiere participar es el mayor capital para
Eso es lo que me estoy dando cuenta de muchas películas que vienen en nuestros países de Latinoamérica, que son así como más independientes, ¿no? Y que la comunidad se reúne y te apoya y solo quiere ver el éxito, ¿no?
Sí, la verdad es que fue pura generosidad de ellos. Sí.
Me alegro mucho. Me estoy dando cuenta del tiempo, pero quería hablar un poquito del final de la película. No quiero decir lo que pasa porque en realidad tenemos que verla, pero yo tuve un presentimiento como en la tercera parte, antes del final, que algo así iba a pasar. siempre fue esa la intención cuando estaban escribiendo el guión, de que nos iban a dar esa sorpresa y que en realidad pues nos quiebra el corazón, ¿no? Porque es lo que nos llega a lo más fondo.
Pues creo que en el final era una de las cosas que teníamos claras desde el inicio, porque en cómo en ese final creo que estaban lo que queríamos decir y expresar con respecto a México en particular, de que no somos de una sociedad que de pronto se haya convertido en asesinos en masa, sino que las condiciones de injusticia social, de marginación, de disparidad, provocan que la violencia se reproduzca, que la violencia genera.
Sí, claro. Astrid.
Sí, creo que esa era la búsqueda. También queríamos con esa idea final hablar también de cómo la tragedia, ese tipo de tragedias por lo menos se ha repetido en diferentes momentos históricos, ¿no? En diferentes culturas. También creo que eso es algo que ha hecho que la película sea recibida con mucho interés por muchas culturas distintas.
Uh-huh.
Por eso también queríamos poner eso de la figura de algo más sobrenatural, algo más que representa nuestros más grandes temores acerca de la oscuridad, de la maldad, ¿no? Y creo que a partir de eso, que terminara con todo, que es una película que habla de algo tan, tan fuerte, que también estuviera ese elemento puro y único que es el amor de una madre, ¿no? Como justo lo que dijiste hace rato, es la que es la testigo, ¿no? De todo eso, y creo que en lo que pasa en México, las madres y los padres, por supuesto, las familias de las víctimas son los principales testigos de lo que está sucediendo, y al mismo tiempo ellos representan la esperanza de un cambio para el país, ¿no?
Claro, en ese punto, pues, claro. Y antes de cerrar, quería preguntarles, yo sé que está muy bien recibida en diferentes festivales, enhorabuena con todos los premios que han recibido, y como tú dices, la historia es más universal de lo que pensamos, ¿no? No solo en Latinoamérica, sino en otros países, especialmente en la situación política que están pasando en muchos lugares ahora, encima de esta crisis del COVID, ¿no? Para los que quieren ver la película, yo sé que en Estados Unidos y en Canadá ya va a estar hábil en línea, pero en otros países como en Latinoamérica, Europa, ¿cómo van a poder ver la peli?
Pues bueno, por fortuna en Europa va a estar también próximamente. Ahorita hay ya un equipo que la va a soltar, le va a hacer release en Francia, en Alemania, en Bélgica, en Suiza, en Europa.
España ya estuvo.
En España ya está.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
En Europa del Este va a estar en plataformas, en Japón va a estar, y creo que una de las cosas que nos da más felicidad es que va a estar en Latinoamérica. Estamos ahora en los tratos para que esté en todo el territorio latinoamericano, en algunos sitios en cines donde sea posible, y también en plataformas.
Excelente. Bueno, muchas gracias por su tiempo, por sus palabras y por compartir conmigo y